So are you ready to head back on over to Hollywood Studios so you can take a ride on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway? Because that is exactly what we're going to be doing today. Hi everyone, and welcome back to That Disney Girl. And today, like I said, we're going to be heading on over to Studios and we are going to jump on that Runaway Railway train, and we are going to be looking at all of the Easter eggs that attraction has to offer. I'll be talking about kind of like the plot, all of the Easter eggs that coincide with like little homages and nods to the Great Movie Ride, as well as other Easter eggs that just have to do with Disney, Imagineering, just so many other things, and hidden Mickeys. So many hidden Mickeys. But that is all what we're going to discuss, so let's get to it. I also just want to preface that a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today are going to come from different articles. There is a YouTube video that I watched that was super helpful, and I'm going to pop those down below. There are some things that I did notice myself that are also in these articles, and there are things that I had friends talk to me about, and then there are also just some things that I came up with myself when I was going on these attractions. I'm going to link them down below. I just want to give credit to them because thank you guys for pointing out all of these really fun Easter eggs, because there's no way that a single person can do it all on their own. It is a teamwork effort with this attraction. If you do want to know all the Easter eggs, then this train is about to leave the station. I come up with the lamest things. Okay, so before we go into the smaller details of all of the Easter eggs, I wanted to quickly touch on the plot of this attraction. So basically, you are first the pre-show. Amazing pre-show, like one of my favorite pre-shows since like maybe Enchanted Tales with Belle, with the amazing like kind of mirror trick that they use in that attraction. But in this one, you're basically going to watch a Mickey short, but then the screen basically blows up in front of you, but it's done so seamlessly, and you walk into the movie, and then you're gonna go on this picnic ride with Mickey and Minnie, and then you're on the train, you're headed there, and then Mickey accidentally derails the train onto another track, and that's going to lead you into a whole nother adventure that is not a simple train ride over to the picnic spot. So that's basically what you go through, and that is the main plot, is basically like you're going through all of these different places, situations, scenarios, all that are very dangerous, and then Mickey and Minnie are always trying to save you. But Kevin Rafferty, who is the head Imagineer for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, was mentioning earlier in February that there is going to be a B plot. So likely when you're watching a TV show and you're seeing like the main characters are doing something, but then like the supporting characters have another storyline that kind of like is underlying and going on, and they pan to it sometimes, but it's not the main focus. So he said that there's going to be this. He said it was going to be very noticeable, but he also said it was going to be very subtle. So I was racking my brain. I was rewatching to figure out what was this B storyline, and I went on the attraction 3 times. There's one storyline that it is the B storyline that I thought it might be, and after like doing a lot of research on it, I got that confirmed. But basically, the B storyline for this attraction is going to follow our favorite dog, Pluto. When you're watching the Mickey short in the pre-show, you see that Pluto is being stuffed in the trunk with the picnic basket, which is essential for the whole storyline of this attraction. And then when Mickey drives over a railway, the picnic basket and Pluto go flying in the air. And Pluto is a very good dog, so he saves the picnic basket, but the blueberry pie goes flying, goes into the like the steam whistle thing on the train for that Goofy's driving. That is kind of like our introduction to what's happening. You know that Pluto wants to make sure that this picnic basket is always going to get back to Mickey and Minnie, but Mickey and Minnie's main concern is not that. Their main concern is to get all of us safely out of this derailment that they've caused. So throughout the attraction, you constantly get glimpses of Pluto, and sometimes with other characters, just kind of sneaking in there with the picnic basket, like always chasing Mickey and Minnie. They don't realize. So that's just a cute little detail, and I'll talk about a couple of the scenes that you could find Pluto in. So in the first scene, it's like a Wild West kind of scene, and you can see that he is there with the picnic basket, and he's trying to get to Mickey and Minnie, and then he's like stopped on a cliff. If we jump on over to the Carnival scene, you really have to be paying attention for it, but you can see that Pluto is going to be there, and he is going to have Huey, Dewey, and Louie with him, almost like maybe he got them to like help him out, but you just see them kind of like run by in the background there. You can see Pluto in the literal Twister scene when that comes up. In the underwater scene, he pops right out of the submarine and he's kind of like chasing Mickey and Minnie. And once we get to like the kind of cityscape scene, you see that Pluto's gonna be in one of the windows and he's kind of like nervous and he's trying to find Mickey and Minnie and he can't. And that's because I'm pretty sure in the chronological the chronology, the storyline of events, the sequence of events in this story, Pluto has actually now beat Mickey and Minnie, and he is further ahead of this adventure. So there you can see that he's lost, and that's because they haven't arrived yet. And then, you know, it changes into like a beautiful scenery picnic area, and then you go in and you see that Pluto is there with Mickey and Minnie, and the picnic basket is with them, so you know that everything worked out in the end, and the two storylines both like converged together. Is that a word? Converged? They joined. Okay, but now we're gonna talk about all of the Easter eggs that reference the Great Movie Ride. We know the Great Movie Ride used to be in the spot of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It was the last attraction that MGM, now Hollywood Studios, had. That was an opening day attraction that had lasted the test of time in the park and wasn't changed into something else. But then in 2017 it had its last go into the movies, and it was shut down so that it could become this new attraction. But that was a beloved ride. We know that people loved it so much, and Disney of course made sure to have many references to that attraction, I guess just to say a little bit of a thank you. So right off the bat I noticed that if you're going on the Great Movie Ride, you remember the Great Movie Ride, it was constantly like different scenes happening. You're moving from one scene to another scene, very different like vibes and environments, and like nothing really fully connected, but somehow it did because you had this like through line of like movies and adventure. And when you're going on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, it's basically the same sort of thing. You're constantly moving from like different set to different set, but there is this through line of like an adventure that you're on, and it makes sense to you, but also it like totally doesn't make sense. You're jumping from like the jungle to like underwater scenes. And I noticed that a lot of these like overall scenes kind of reference different scenes that were in the Great Movie Ride. For example, the Tarzan scene in the Great Movie Ride is like a whole spectacle, and then like the kind of jungle scene that you get when you're in Mickey and Minnie's, to me it kind of reminded me of that. So I just thought that that was already like an overlying giant arch, like connecting factor with these two attractions. Okay, so the banner that you would have seen when you were getting on the Great Movie Ride, it would have been like Journey into the Movies, and there was a whole bunch of things written on there below. That is actually something that we're gonna tie into this attraction a whole bunch. That is because when you were getting on to that ride, that's gonna be where the pre-show for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is today. So when you were getting onto your attraction, you were going onto a journey into the movies. Like I said, that's what the banner said. And when you are watching the pre-show and the screen blows up and you go into the film, you are literally taking a journey into the movie. So I am not sure if that is exactly perfect in like what Imagineers were trying to do, but it definitely makes a lot of sense. And then also on that banner that said Journey into the Movies, at the end you kind of saw like chills, thrills. It was like just different like words that were describing the way you feel and will experience the movies, I guess. But when you're in the Carnival scene, you're going to see on that banner just where Mickey and Minnie are like floating on their air balloon, it's going to say chills and thrills. So that's another little reference to the Great Movie Ride. And also in like the corner of that banner, I had to like pause the video to be able to see this because it went by really quickly, but it said see the rodeo, which I think is another call to the Great Movie Ride just because they had so many like Western types of scenes in there. If there is like, if there was writing about a rodeo on the Great Movie Ride, I'm not 100% sure on that, so let me know if you know. Probably the most popular Easter egg on Mickey and Minnie's is going to be the Great Moving Ride poster that you're going to find in the Carnival scene. To me, it is one of the most easy Easter eggs to spot out. I caught it on my second time going on the attraction when I was actually like paying a little bit more attention to all of those little details. It's funny because like you see all of these people who look so excited with their hands in the air to go on the attraction, and I think it just kind of like references the amazing fan base that the Great Movie Ride had and still has today. And since we're talking about the Carnival scene, I guess I will continue to talk about other Great Movie Ride things that are in that scene. So there is actually going to be a Frontier shooting arcade, and I think that this has two references. I'm not sure which one Imagineers were pointing towards, but to me they both make sense, so I'm going to discuss them now. In Magic Kingdom, of course, in Frontierland, we have the Frontier shooting arcade, and to me this is like a perfect mirror to that. So I thought that they were kind of like calling a little bit of something in from Magic Kingdom into this attraction, but also there are so many like Frontier-esque shooting scenes from the Great Movie Ride, so I thought that this could be referencing one of those. I think also the Magic Kingdom shooting game section is even more like in your face telling you that this is an Easter egg, but they might be connected, who knows? And when you're going on the attraction, you go on through a barn. And in the Great Movie Ride, there is also a barn. And it's gonna be Todd's stable. I'm not 100% sure if this is something that is supposed to be an Easter egg, but I just thought that it was interesting because you go literally into the barn when you're on the attraction, and then through the queue, you're gonna go into another barn. So, just something to note. Okay, so do you remember
Bugsy,
this
whatever you
scene
say.
from the Great Movie Ride? In this scene, there is going to be an alley cat sound effect, and once you go through Daisy's little like dance studio section on Runaway Railway, you are going to be in the factory scene, and if you pay attention, I'm going to put in a picture right now, to the specific garbage can, and also a little hidden Mickey back there, you will hear that same exact alley cat noise. This is not something you will notice probably on your own. I definitely had to read about it, just like I read about so many of the other things that I'm going to be talking about today. But I think that it was so interesting that they kept like such a small little minimal sound effect. You come to realize that this attraction really takes its sound effects seriously, which we'll talk about one more Easter egg later when we're not talking about Great Movie Ride Easter eggs. But I just thought that that was really interesting. But now we're going to talk about the best Easter egg for the Great Movie Ride. It is so many layers. I just want to give a shout out to everybody who helped me come up with this, not come up with this, who literally like came up with it and told me. So in Runaway Railway, you are going to go into a twister scene. And this twister scene has such a monumentous meaning for the Great Movie Ride as a whole, and that is because originally there was supposed to be a twister scene in the Great Movie Ride, and it was literally supposed to be in that exact same spot of the attraction. So before you go into the whole Wizard of Oz scene, you were supposed to go through a twister scene, but what was replaced was a Sorcerer Mickey version of Fantasia. This was because Imagineers, I guess, just like couldn't get the twister scene to look the way that they wanted. There might have been some budget cut sort of restraints there, especially since the next scene was going to be so lavish. It was kind of just like a quick little transition piece. But like I said, there was always supposed to be a twister scene for the Wizard of Oz. It was supposed to be in the specific section, but it didn't happen. So Imagineers made sure that the twister was still gonna get its spot in this attraction. And like I said, it is in the exact location that it was originally supposed to be in. And when you're looking at the twister, it kind of merges the two worlds of Fantasia as well as the Wizard of Oz. So you're going to see a mailbox on there. This is something that like you need to be like on a specific cart, riding at a specific time, paying literal attention to the mailbox, and probably getting a picture of it so you can actually read it. But it says there's no place like home, which of course direct reference to the Wizard of Oz, and I'm pretty sure I saw like the house from the Wizard of Oz kind of like floating as well in the twister. And then in there you're also going to see like the instruments from Fantasia, and it kind of like melds the two worlds together. Definitely a clear Easter egg for the Great Movie Ride. I think it's so awesome that it has so many layers going on, and that this is something that like Disney freaks like you and I are going to love. It's all of these Easter eggs that make Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway have such high re-rideability. I think it is possibly one of the most re-rideable rides that Disney has to offer at this point. So definitely a reason to go on it multiple times. Okay, so those were all of the Great Movie Ride Easter eggs, but there's also a whole bunch more Easter eggs that we're going to talk about now. And like I said, at the end of this, if I left any out, you gotta let me know down below, because this is kind of just like my first go of like riding the ride a bunch of times, watching the videos, and reading other people's articles, but it hasn't been open for too long, so there are definitely a lot more things that people have missed, and we need to catch up on. So if you know your Disney history, you know that Oswald was basically like the first kind of like cartoon character that Walt created that was super successful. This is kind of like the OG Mickey Mouse in my opinion. But Walt ended up losing the rights to Oswald, so he wasn't like inherently Disney, I guess, because it wasn't his anymore. But this attraction definitely makes sure to reference that first drawing on Mickey's ride, and it's going to be right in the sewer city. I think there's going to be like a newspaper stand, and it's going to say Oswald wins on there, which is just like a cute little reference to one of Walt's other creations. In the final scene, when you see that Mickey and Minnie are going to go on their picnic, there's going to be a like a direction pole sort of thing with different signs, and one of those signs is going to say Yensid Valley, which Yensid backwards is Disney, so that's just a cute little sign Easter egg for ya. And also, speaking of that last scene, it is going to be Runaway Park. That is where you are having your picnic. And a lot of people have referenced that Runaway Park has a very similar kind of aesthetic to Griffith Park. Which, if you don't know, that is where Walt Disney kind of had his first dream to create Disneyland as a whole. It was when he was with his daughter on the merry-go-round carousel over there, which you can see a carousel in this scene as well. Definitely a homage to that. And he wanted to create a place where families can experience this all the time, and that is where the idea of Disneyland came in. So that's also a little interesting Easter egg, kind of combining Walt and Mickey together. Okay, so every single number in this attraction has a meaning. No number was put there because it doesn't mean anything, so let's go through all of those and we'll try to get through them a little bit quick because there are so many Easter eggs to talk about. Okay, so the first is going to be in our little city sort of area, and it's going to be a flower shop, and it's going to be 1401 listed on there. 1401 Flower Street is actually going to be the Imagineering department that you can visit when you are in California. So that is just definitely a little reference to all of the Imagineers. They definitely deserved a shout out in this attraction. At the park, you are going to see a 1928 sign, and if you know your Mickey history, you know that Mickey was created in 1928. So just a little bit of a call to him on his own attraction. And in the sewer, if you look up, you're going to see 1901, which was Walt's birth year, so that's a call to Walt. Another little Easter egg is that there is a crab in every scene. I literally don't know why. And I don't know if I've found every crab. I've seen a bunch of them. But if you know why there is a crab in every scene, please tell me, because right over my head with that one. And since we were just talking about Mickey, one of the people that was credited to creating the first official drawing of Mickey Mouse is Iwerks. And when you're passing the water treatment plant sort of area, I think it's gonna say you works, I works. I'm gonna pop in a picture so it makes more sense, but that is definitely a little Easter egg to another person that helped create the first official rendering of Mickey Mouse, which is nice to know that you have a spot for Walt with his birthday, and there's actually another spot with Walt that we'll talk about right next, and then we're also gonna get a spot for Iwerks. And I mentioned that there is going to be another Walt Easter egg, and if you go to the city scene, you're gonna see Retlaw parking and backwards Walter. So that was just a cute little one. Also in that scene, you're going to see an ink and paint department, little Easter egg, and that is going to be on the detergent sort of billboard that you can see up in the air. The ink and paint department was crucial to the creation of just any sort of original Mickey animation or any Disney animation as a whole. So it's really nice that they called attention to all of those people who literally hand drew and painted every single scene of any sort of Disney animation that was originally created by Disney. So I want to call your attention to two really fun Easter eggs that are going to be in the Carnival scene. The first one is going to be this Potato Land poster. Potato Land is going to be part of a Mickey short. If you want to learn a little bit more about Potato Land, you can watch the Mickey short that is currently in Hollywood Studios, and there's even a fun photo up that you can do after you watch the short. And it seems like Potato Land has been a big thing. I'm not sure why. Was there a connection between potatoes and Mickey? But there's Potato Land in that short. If you're going in the Carnival scene, just tucked away, you can see that there is literally going to be a Potato Land poster. And oddly enough, when Kevin Rafferty was describing this attraction, he said that it was fitting 10 pounds of potatoes into a 5-pound potato bag. It is such an odd metaphor, especially to be using potatoes, which makes me think that potatoes have a deeper meaning in this story, but honestly, I'm not sure. Okay, and if we look at Mrs. Fortune's, which is a an advertisement that they have at the Carnival scene, this is going to be an Easter egg that is paying a little bit of homage to Miss Adventure Falls, which is one of the attractions at Typhoon Lagoon, which was originally called Miss Fortune Falls. And I don't know if this is meant to kind of correlate at all, but right behind that sign you kind of have a roller coaster in the background, which is kind of the same idea of a slide. So those two kind of juxtaposing or being right behind each other, I think that it makes perfect sense. And it definitely has a really perfect cohesiveness going on with that whole Easter egg. I think it gives it a few layers. I'm not sure if it was intending to, but it's there, so take it. And I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Great Movie Attraction Easter eggs that sounds were really important in this attraction, and when you hear the train whistle go off at the beginning of the attraction, this is going to be the exact same train whistle from Steamboat Willie, the first ever Mickey cartoon. So that's just a cute little Easter egg, something that you might find familiar but you won't know exactly why it is. That's why it's the exact same sound effect. Also, this ride is going to have the most hidden Mickeys of any Disney attraction like ever. And I don't want to give too many away because that is where the fun comes in, I guess, when you're like riding this ride, because, and that's another reason it has so much rewritability, is because there are literally so many Mickeys that you can point out. One that I didn't notice myself, I saw this in an article, but when you're in the queue, it literally writes out the word Mickey on the wood panelings, and I think that's super cool. If you're gonna go into the city, the ice cream has a Mickey on it. In Daisy's dance studio, there's gonna be some Mickeys, and the lights in the queue, there's gonna be Mickeys. There's Mickeys everywhere. Literally just like pay attention to something and you're gonna see Mickeys. I pointed out a Mickey in the alleyway with the garbage can where that first sound effect was. So many Mickeys, so much fun. Let me know if there are some like really subtle ones that you know and I don't. And the Imagineers that assisted in creating this ride have a whole lot of Easter eggs that are known for them. Like I mentioned earlier, Kevin Rafferty, he is going to be the main Imagineer on this attraction, and when you go into that sort of cityscape scene, you are going to see like these roadblocks. And a little bit of history about this attraction was that there were a few roadblocks in getting it up and off the ground. It did have a couple of delays, and if you look on, I think, like when you're looking at the attraction on the left roadblock, there is going to be like a little sticker and it's going to say Rafferty's Roadblocks, which I think is pretty cheeky, and it kind of just like shows that he can like poke fun at the fact that he knows that there were some hiccups on an attraction that he was kind of spearheading. And I want to get back to another interesting fact about Rafferty in a second. So on the dumpsters, you're going to see a whole bunch of names written. I don't know who specifically they were, but I am sure that these are going to be Imagineers that assisted on this attraction. So that's just another little interesting thing. And they were able to like leave their mark on a Disney attraction for possibly forever, which is really freaking cool. But when we're talking about Rafferty, he is going to be one of the original writers for It's a Bug's Life in Animal Kingdom. And if you've been on that ride, I mean, I'm not a fan of it just because I don't like being poked in the back and having like bugs shock me under my butt, but that happens there, and you also get some shocks under your butt when you are on this attraction as well. So I think Rafferty just really likes shocking people. I don't know, but it's interesting that he uses the same sort of technique that is in It's a Bug's Life, or not It's a Bug's Life, It's Tough to Be a Bug. Ugh, what kind of Disney fan am I? But he uses that same sort of like technology, little fun element, I guess, of a ride and an effect, and he put it in this attraction too. It's a little bit different, where instead of like running, you're a bit more like jolted, but that same sort of feeling that like something under you is waking you up. At the end of the attraction, there's going to be a picture of Walt with his train. I think that it is a perfect moment to show this. Walt loved trains, as we all know, so that's why I think putting Mickey with a train railway attraction is the perfect way to kind of give credit to Walt Disney for his creation of Mickey. Rafferty is even credited to saying that one of the best compliments he got was that someone rode the ride and said that Walt would have loved it. So that to me is just like, it's perfect to have him at the end there, just to like give him his final thank you, because he deserves one as well. And when you are exiting the ride, this isn't really an Easter egg, I just want you to pay attention to it. You are going to leave the same way you came in, which is through a screen that has exploded, and if you turn around before you leave, you will see that it says the end. So you have gone on the short, you have lived the short, you have been the short Mickey film. So that is it. Those are all of the Easter eggs that I have come up with myself, that I have read in articles, that I have spoken to other people about. If there are any that I am missing, you need to let me know. Comment them down below. I would love to hear your thoughts and what you think about the new attraction. And if you enjoy this video, you gotta give it a nice big thumbs up. And if you liked talking about different Disney theories and Easter eggs, that is exactly what we're here to do on this channel, so you gotta make sure you subscribe. I try to put out a video every single week, but if you want to be sure on that, you gotta hit the notification bell and it'll tell you when. But until the next one, folks, I will see you real soon. Okay, bye everyone.